the spirituality and worldview of Native Americans. Introduction to Native American spirituality. Native American spirituality is deeply rooted in a reverence for nature and a belief in the interconnectedness of all living things. Unlike many Western religious traditions, Native American spiritual practices are not confined to a single belief system or written scripture. Instead, they are diverse, varying from tribe to tribe, but sharing common themes of respect for the natural world, a focus on community, and a belief in the spiritual presence of ancestors. Spirituality was not viewed as a separate aspect of life, but was intertwined with daily activities, governing everything from hunting to farming to social customs. Connection to nature and animism. At the core of Native American spirituality is the belief that everything in nature, animals, plants, rivers, mountains, and even the wind, has a spirit. This concept, known as animism, teaches that humans are part of a broader spiritual ecosystem, with all beings deserving of respect and care. For many tribes, ceremonies and rituals were performed to honor the spirits of animals that were hunted, to give thanks for the harvest, or to ensure good weather and successful crops. In many Native American cultures, certain animals were considered spiritual guides or totems, representing specific qualities such as wisdom, strength, or bravery. These animals were believed to offer protection or guidance to individuals or entire tribes. The eagle, for instance, is often seen as a symbol of strength and connection to the divine because of its ability to fly at great heights, closer to the heavens. Sacred ceremonies and rituals. Ceremonies play a central role in Native American spirituality, marking important events in life, seasonal changes, or spiritual connections. The practices and significance of these ceremonies differ between tribes, but many share common elements such as the use of sacred objects, music, dance, and prayer. One of the most well-known rituals is the Sun Dance, practiced by several Plains tribes, including the Lakota and Cheyenne. This ceremony is a time of prayer, sacrifice, and renewal, usually performed in the summer. Participants fast, dance, and sometimes undergo physical trials, such as piercing, as a means of showing devotion and seeking spiritual blessings for the tribe. Another important practice is the use of sweat lodges, which are enclosed, dome-shaped structures where participants gather to pray, meditate, and purify themselves through intense heat. The steam generated in the lodge represents cleansing both physically and spiritually, helping individuals to connect with the Creator and the spirits of the land. The role of the shaman or medicine person. In many Native American societies, the shaman or medicine person holds a central role as the spiritual leader and healer. These individuals are believed to have a deep connection with the spiritual world and the ability to communicate with the spirits of nature, ancestors, and the divine. They are called upon to perform healing rituals, lead ceremonies, and offer guidance during important decisions or crises within the community. Healing in Native American traditions often involved more than just treating physical ailments. It was seen as a holistic process that addressed the spiritual, emotional, and physical well-being of the individual. The use of medicinal plants, such as sage, cedar, and sweetgrass, was common in healing ceremonies, and these plants were often considered sacred for their ability to restore balance and harmony to the body and spirit. The influence of spirituality on social structure. Native American spirituality also influenced the social and political structures of many tribes. Leadership was often based on spiritual wisdom, and the chief or leader was seen as not just a political figure, but a spiritual guide as well. Decisions were made collectively, often with the guidance of spiritual practices, such as seeking visions or consulting the council of elders. The concept of Mother Earth was another critical aspect of Native American belief systems, and it deeply influenced how tribes treated the land. The earth was seen as a living, breathing entity that provided for the people, and thus, it was treated with the utmost respect. Overhunting, wastefulness, or environmental destruction were seen as offenses not only to nature, but to the spiritual balance of the world. Modern-day preservation of Native American spirituality. Despite centuries of colonization, forced assimilation, and suppression of Native American cultures, many tribes have managed to preserve their spiritual traditions. Today, Native Americans continue to practice their ceremonies, teach their spiritual values to younger generations, and reclaim their sacred sites, which were often taken over or desecrated by European settlers. The revival of Native American spirituality is not only a cultural resurgence, but also a form of resistance against historical injustices. Powwows, for example, are gatherings that celebrate Native American culture through dance, music, and storytelling, offering a space for both native and non-native people to experience and honor these spiritual traditions. In recent years, many Native American communities have also focused on protecting sacred lands from environmental degradation, advocating for the preservation of sites that hold spiritual significance. The ongoing struggle to protect sites like the Black Hills, Paha Sapa, in South Dakota, considered sacred by the Lakota people, highlights the deep spiritual connections Native Americans have with their ancestral lands. Conclusion: Native American spirituality offers a unique and profound perspective on the world, one that emphasizes harmony with nature, respect for all living beings, and the interconnectedness of life. Despite centuries of challenges, Native Americans have preserved these traditions, passing them down through generations and continuing to draw strength from their spiritual heritage. Today, their spirituality not only serves as a source of cultural pride, but also as a powerful reminder of the importance of living in balance with the natural world. The role of women in Native American societies. Introduction. Women in Native American societies held significant roles that were often integral to the social, political, and economic functioning of their communities. Contrary to many Western societies where women were historically marginalized, many Native American tribes valued women for their contributions and leadership. While each tribe had its unique customs, the role of women was typically central, and their influence extended beyond the household into governance, trade, and spirituality. Economic and domestic responsibilities. In most Native American tribes, women were responsible for vital economic activities such as agriculture, gathering food, and managing the household. In agrarian tribes like the Iroquois and Cherokee, women played a crucial role in farming, cultivating crops such as corn, beans, and squash, known as the Three Sisters. These crops were not only essential for the survival of the tribe, but also symbolized a balance and unity that reflected the cooperative nature of their communities. Women were also skilled in crafting and producing goods. They made clothing, blankets, and pottery, often incorporating artistic designs that told stories or held spiritual significance. Their craftsmanship was highly respected, and in some cases, their products were traded with other tribes or European settlers, making them active participants in the economy. In nomadic tribes like the Lakota or Comanche, women were responsible for setting up and dismantling the family's teepee as they moved with the seasons. Their work was critical to the tribe's ability to adapt to their environment, ensuring that shelter and supplies were always ready when needed. Political power and governance. In many Native American societies, women held significant political power, often in ways that contrasted with the patriarchal systems of European settlers. Among the Iroquois, for example, women had the right to select male leaders, known as chiefs, and could remove them from power if they failed to fulfill their duties. These women were known as clan mothers, and their political influence extended across the Iroquois Confederacy, a powerful union of 6 tribes in the northeastern United States. This matrilineal system, where lineage and inheritance were passed through the mother's line, was common in several tribes. It granted women authority in decision-making processes, especially those related to land and family. Property, such as homes and agricultural fields, was often owned and controlled by women, giving them a secure and influential position within their communities. Even in tribes where leadership roles were primarily held by men, women often acted as advisors and played a vital part in consensus building. Their perspectives were valued, and their voices were important in resolving conflicts and maintaining harmony within the tribe. Spiritual and cultural roles. Women also played key roles in Native American spiritual and cultural life. In many tribes, they were seen as life-givers and caretakers of the earth, which was often considered a feminine entity, referred to as Mother Earth. This deep connection with nature imbued women with spiritual significance, and they often participated in important rituals and ceremonies. In some cultures, women could be spiritual leaders or healers. For example, among the Plains tribes, women often played roles in medicine and healing practices, using their knowledge of plants and herbs to treat illnesses and injuries. They were respected for their spiritual insight and healing abilities, sometimes serving as shamans or medicine women within the community. Women were also responsible for passing down oral traditions, which were crucial in preserving the tribe's history, culture, and values. Through storytelling, songs, and rituals, they ensured that the tribe's knowledge and heritage were transmitted to future generations. Women in times of conflict. Native American women were not only caregivers and nurturers, they also played active roles during times of conflict. While men typically fought in battles, women supported war efforts in various ways. They prepared food and supplies for warriors, cared for the injured, and in some cases participated directly in battle. Women of the Comanche, for example, were known for their skill in horseback riding and would often accompany men on hunting and warfare expeditions. In times of conflict, women sometimes took on leadership roles, especially when the tribe's survival was at stake. Furthermore, in several tribes, women acted as negotiators or mediators during peace talks. Their influence in diplomacy reflected the respect they commanded within their tribes and underscored their essential role in maintaining social cohesion. Impact of European colonization on women's roles. The arrival of European colonizers drastically altered the lives of Native American women. European settlers often imposed their own gender norms on Native societies, disrupting the traditional balance of power. Missionaries, for example, attempted to convert Native Americans to Christianity and impose European-style domestic roles on women, viewing their traditional roles as incompatible with European ideals of womanhood. Colonization also led to the displacement of tribes, forcing many Native American women into poverty and disrupting the economic systems in which they had played such a vital role. The forced relocation of tribes, as seen in events like the Trail of Tears, separated women from their lands, stripping them of the resources and power they had once controlled. Despite these challenges, Native American women have continued to play significant roles in their communities. They have been central to efforts to preserve their cultures, reclaim their lands, and fight for the rights of Native peoples. Many women have emerged as leaders in the Native American civil rights movement, advocating for the restoration of sovereignty and protection of sacred lands. Contemporary Native American women. Today, Native American women continue to be leaders in their communities, working to preserve their cultural heritage and address modern-day challenges. Many have become prominent figures in tribal governments, activism, and education. Native American women are also at the forefront of efforts to address issues like domestic violence, substance abuse, and poverty, which disproportionately affect Native communities. Organizations such as the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center, IWRC, and the Native Women's Association of Canada, NWAC, work to empower Native women and advocate for their rights. These groups have been instrumental in raising awareness about issues like the epidemic of missing and murdered Indigenous women, a crisis that has garnered national and international attention. Conclusion. Women in Native American societies have always been key figures, contributing to the social, economic, and spiritual well-being of their communities. While colonization brought immense challenges, the resilience and strength of Native American women have persisted across generations. Today, they continue to be a driving force in cultural preservation, social justice, and community leadership, embodying the enduring spirit of their ancestors. Origins and settlement of Native Americans. Native Americans represent the indigenous peoples of the Americas, with their origins tracing back thousands of years. It is widely believed that the first humans migrated from Asia to North America around 15,000 to 20,000 years ago, crossing the Bering Strait land bridge. Over time, these early settlers spread across both North and South America, forming distinct cultures and communities depending on the regions they inhabited. These early societies developed sophisticated systems of governance, religion, art, and trade, thriving in diverse environments ranging from the Arctic tundra to tropical rainforests. Cultural diversity and tribal life. Native American societies were incredibly diverse, with hundreds of different languages and dialects spoken across the continent. The tribes varied greatly in terms of customs, spiritual beliefs, and ways of life. For example, the Plains Indians, like the Sioux and Cheyenne, were known for their nomadic lifestyle centered around buffalo hunting, while the Iroquois of the northeastern woodlands practiced agriculture and lived in permanent longhouses. The Pueblo peoples of the Southwest, such as the Hopi and Zuni, built intricate adobe dwellings and developed advanced irrigation systems to sustain their crops in arid environments. Each tribe's relationship with nature played a critical role in shaping its culture and economy. Many Native American spiritual beliefs emphasize the interconnectedness of all living things, and their oral traditions passed down stories and values through generations, fostering a strong sense of identity and community. European contact and the impact of colonization. The arrival of European settlers in the 15th and 16th centuries marked a turning point in the history of Native Americans. With the European colonization of the Americas, Native American populations were devastated by diseases such as smallpox, which they had no immunity against, as well as by violent conflicts over land. The forced displacement of Native Americans, most notably seen in events like the Trail of Tears in the 1830s, uprooted entire tribes from their ancestral lands and led to profound suffering. Despite these challenges, many Native American tribes resisted colonization and fought to preserve their lands and ways of life. Figures like Sitting Bull, Crazy Horse, and Geronimo became symbols of Native American resistance. However, by the late 19th century, most Native American tribes had been forced onto reservations as the U.S. government sought to control their lands. Modern-day Native Americans. Today, Native American tribes continue to endure, with many striving to reclaim their cultural heritage and legal rights. While they still face challenges such as poverty, discrimination, and the loss of traditional lands, there has been significant progress in the recognition of Native American sovereignty. Many tribes operate their own schools, health services, and government systems, and some have achieved economic success through initiatives like casino gaming on reservation lands. The preservation of Native American languages, cultural practices, and spirituality remains an ongoing effort. Additionally, Native American activists continue to advocate for greater recognition of historical injustices and environmental stewardship of lands that hold spiritual significance to their cultures. Conclusion: the story of Native Americans is one of resilience, survival, and the enduring connection between people and the land. From their rich cultural diversity to their struggles during colonization and modern efforts to revitalize their heritage, Native Americans remain a vital part of the history and identity of the Americas. Native Americans, a history of adaptation and resistance. Early life and adaptation to the environment. Native Americans are the original inhabitants of the Americas, with a history spanning thousands of years before European contact. They adapted to various environments across the continent, developing unique ways of life that were intricately connected to the land. In the Great Plains, tribes like the Lakota and Comanche became expert horsemen and buffalo hunters after the introduction of horses by the Spanish. While in the Pacific Northwest, tribes such as the Tlingit and Haida thrived on fishing and built towering totem poles to reflect their clan's heritage. In the southwestern deserts, the ancestral Puebloans, formerly known as the Anasazi, constructed multi-story adobe and stone dwellings in cliff faces, some of which still stand today, demonstrating advanced architectural skills. Meanwhile, in the forests of the eastern woodlands, the Iroquois Confederacy united several tribes under a democratic system, which some historians believe influenced the development of the U.S. Constitution. Colonial expansion and conflicts. When European explorers arrived in the late 15th and early 16th centuries, the lives of Native Americans changed drastically. At first, there were instances of cooperation and trade between Native Americans and Europeans. However, as European settlements expanded, competition for land and resources led to increased tension and conflict. Diseases brought by Europeans, such as smallpox, decimated Native American populations, reducing some tribes by as much as 90%. The arrival of colonists also led to violent confrontations as Europeans sought to claim land for agriculture and settlements. The Pequot War, 1636 to 1638, and King Philip's War, 1675 to 1676, in New England were early examples of the fierce resistance Native Americans put up to defend their territories, but they were ultimately overwhelmed by European military technology and tactics. The Trail of Tears and forced relocation. One of the darkest chapters in Native American history occurred in the 19th century with the forced relocation of tribes from their ancestral lands. Under the Indian Removal Act of 1830, President Andrew Jackson's administration pursued a policy of removing Native Americans from the southeastern United States to lands west of the Mississippi River. This led to the infamous Trail of Tears, where thousands of Cherokee, Muskogee, Seminole, Chickasaw, and Choctaw people were forced to march hundreds of miles to designated Indian Territory, modern-day Oklahoma. The journey was marked by extreme hardship, disease, and death, with thousands dying along the way. This forced relocation was part of a broader pattern of displacement and cultural suppression, as the U.S. government sought to assimilate Native Americans into mainstream American society. The establishment of boarding schools where Native American children were forbidden from speaking their languages or practicing their cultural traditions aimed to civilize them, further eroding their identities. The Native American resistance movement. Despite the hardships of colonization, Native American resistance persisted. Leaders like Sitting Bull of the Hunkpapa Lakota and Geronimo of the Apache fought valiantly to defend their lands and way of life. One of the most famous battles was the Battle of Little Bighorn in 1876, where an alliance of Lakota, Cheyenne, and Arapaho warriors defeated General George Custer's forces. By the late 19th century, however, most Native American tribes had been confined to reservations, where they faced poverty, dependency on government aid, and further loss of cultural practices. Yet, Native American communities continued to resist in other ways, preserving their languages, traditions, and spiritual beliefs despite attempts to assimilate them. Cultural revival and sovereignty in the 20th and 21st centuries. The 20th century saw a resurgence of Native American activism. In the 1960s and 1970s, movements like the American Indian Movement, AM, fought for the rights of Native Americans, including issues of land reclamation, civil rights, and the preservation of cultural heritage. ADEM was instrumental in raising awareness of the injustices faced by Native Americans and played a key role in protests like the occupation of Alcatraz Island, 1969 to 1971, and the standoff at Wounded Knee in 1973. Today, Native American tribes continue to assert their sovereignty and demand greater recognition of their rights. Legal battles over land, natural resources, and cultural sites remain ongoing, but many tribes have achieved significant victories. The economic landscape has also shifted, with some tribes using their sovereignty to operate casinos and other enterprises, providing a means for economic development. In addition, Native American cultures have experienced a revival, with efforts to preserve endangered languages, restore traditional practices, and celebrate Native American heritage through festivals, museums, and educational programs. Conclusion: the history of Native Americans is one of incredible adaptation, resilience, and resistance. From their deep connection to the land and development of diverse cultures to their struggles against colonization and modern-day efforts to reclaim their heritage, Native Americans have shaped the history of the Americas in profound ways. Despite centuries of oppression, they continue to survive and thrive, contributing to the rich cultural tapestry of the United States and beyond. The rich traditions and cultural heritage of Native Americans. Native Americans, the original inhabitants of North America, have a profound cultural heritage that spans thousands of years. Each tribe has its own unique traditions, language, and way of life. Yet they all share a deep connection with the land and nature. This article delves into the cultural practices, survival techniques, and ongoing influence of Native American tribes. Cultural practices and traditions. The culture of Native American tribes was shaped by their environment and their belief in living in harmony with nature. Many tribes, such as the Navajo, practiced intricate weaving and pottery-making techniques passed down through generations. These art forms were not only functional, but also carried deep spiritual meanings. Patterns in blankets or pottery often told stories, represented spiritual beliefs, or honored ancestors. Music and dance played a vital role in their culture. Ceremonial dances like the ghost dance or the eagle dance were performed to connect with the spiritual world, celebrate important events, or seek healing. Drums, flutes, and rattles were commonly used to create rhythmic music that accompanied these sacred rituals. Connection to nature. Native American life was built on a deep respect for the natural world. They viewed themselves as part of nature, not separate from it. This belief influenced how they hunted, gathered food, and built their communities. For example, the Plains tribes hunted buffalo in a sustainable way, ensuring that no part of the animal went to waste. The meat was used for food, the hides for clothing and shelter, and the bones for tools and weapons. In forested regions, tribes like the Algonquin and Cherokee relied on hunting and gathering, as well as farming. They cultivated crops like maize, beans, and squash, which were staples of their diet. Their knowledge of plants extended to herbal medicine, using local flora to treat various ailments and maintain health. Social structure and family life. Native American societies were often organized into clans or extended family groups. The structure of each tribe was unique, but most were led by a council of elders or chiefs who made decisions for the community. Leadership was often based on wisdom, experience, and the ability to make fair decisions, rather than wealth or power. Families played a central role in Native American life. Children were raised not only by their parents, but by the entire community. They were taught traditional skills, values, and stories that shaped their identity and connection to their culture. Elders were highly respected as keepers of tribal knowledge and history, struggles, and resilience. The arrival of European settlers brought immense challenges to Native American tribes. Diseases, forced relocations, and battles for land disrupted their way of life. Despite these hardships, many Native American communities have fought to preserve their traditions, language, and cultural identity. In recent years, there has been a resurgence of Native American culture, with tribes working to revitalize their languages, protect sacred lands, and pass down traditional knowledge to future generations. Events like powwows, which feature traditional music, dance, and storytelling, allow Native Americans to celebrate their heritage and share it with the world. Modern influence and legacy. Today, Native Americans continue to make significant contributions to society. Their knowledge of sustainable living practices and environmental stewardship is increasingly relevant in discussions about climate change and conservation. Native American artists, musicians, and writers have also gained recognition for their work, offering unique perspectives shaped by their cultural heritage. In politics, education, and business, Native Americans are making strides to ensure that their voices are heard and their rights protected. The legacy of Native American culture is not only a part of the past but continues to influence the present and future in meaningful ways.